Often, when conversing with well-traveled individuals, we find it a little embarrassing to admit that we have never visited Africa. After doing a little bit of research, Namibia seems like a good choice to start to get to know this massive continent. Mesmerizing vistas and vastness of space, insane variety of wildlife, fascinating history and human story, Namibia has got it all. We arrived at 8 a.m., being picked up by Sammy, our guide, and off we go into the adventure. We picked an 11-day offer from Blue Crane Safari, a tour company that basically takes care of everything. Namibia is located in southwestern Africa. We are starting our tour with Namib Desert, the oldest desert on Earth, where we will visit the famous Sossusvlei. Then moving to the Atlantic coast, staying in Swakopmund and driving up to the Sandwich Harbour. After that to Damaraland, to camp out and see the desert elephants, and before next destination, stop and visit the Himbas. Next to Etosha National Park, the largest national park, to see all the wild animals. And finishing up at the Okonjima Nature Reserve to see leopard and cheetah and stay at the coolest place. First stop we're making is Spredshoek de Pas. I'm sure it's Dutch. That's the last stop on the highland before entering the Namib Desert. We came in August, avoiding European heat waves, right at the peak of Namibian dry winter. It gets quite cold at night, but by mid-afternoon the sun is really strong and hot, so you get to dress up in both winter and summer outfits, which is kinda cool. Our destination for day one is a lodging called the Desert Grace, where we will spend 2 nights. Quite nice indeed, did not expect this. After a bit of rest, the hotel offered us an activity, an open car drive to the dunes. So nice! The sand here is so fine and the red color is due to high content of oxidized iron. It doesn't even stick to your hands, probably because it's so dry. Next morning, super early, like 6 a.m., we are departing to Sossusvlei, probably the most recognizable Namibian attraction. We were really one of the first visitors to the dry river pan this morning. The place is incredible. The trees here and all over this country do not decompose or rot after that because there's just not enough moisture. Even the summer rain season is not enough for these trees to disintegrate. In fact, people are the biggest threat to these beautiful dead trees, and authorities are very strict with volumes of visitors and with wardings and fines, and even imprisonment for bad tourist behavior. When we returned to the hotel, after a little bit of begging, we got the permission from the hotel to fly our drone, as long as we stay away from the property. The hotel offered us 2 electric bikes, which were fun to ride, and so here is some aerial footage of the desert where we stayed. Unfortunately, Hope's luck with wheels and tires cut this little outing short. Next morning we're up before dawn again for an unplanned activity. Since drones are not allowed in Sossusvlei, we get on a little plane for a 45-minute flight over the dunes. We invited Sammy along with us, since we had no others to share the ride. This was his first time on a plane of any kind. Poor guy was pretty scared, but remained brave, and luckily the flight was very smooth. We came back to the hotel for breakfast and check out. We are driving towards the Atlantic coast now. We reached the Atlantic coast at the town of Walvis Bay. It was really quite windy and a bit cold, but there was this lovely seafood joint. Really felt like you were somewhere in the coastal USA. Moving on, we are only 30 minutes away from our 2-night stay at the town of Swakopmund, the second largest metropolis of Namibia. A bit of entertainment and good food. Overall, I have to say, food was unexpectedly quite good in this country. Swakopmund is a charming town with lots of reminders of German colonial past. Germany established a colony here in the late 19th century, mostly looking for German people to have additional space outside the European continent, but totally under the control of the government in Berlin, unlike USA, for instance. Like all the colonial stories, German wasn't pretty either. But nowadays there seems to be some reconciliation and people live in peace, with whites still comprising a small minority. After World War I, what was called German West Africa fell under the control of South Africa. That was still a British colony. Namibia became an independent country only in 1990. This I had no idea about. So, 30 years old. By the way, Namibian territory is the size of France and Italy combined, but population is only 2.7 million people, making it one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world. Perhaps this is why it's so clean. You see very little trash out of place. Bathrooms are clean and safe, and people are very nice and friendly. Official language is English, but Afrikaans and German is used quite a bit, as well as many local languages. Sammy speaks English and Afrikaans fluently, and at least a couple of local languages. Oh, also the wine, mostly from South Africa, is really delicious and not expensive. Next morning we are having a change of guard, because we are going to Sandwich Harbour. Due to our ignorance, we got a bit upset that we're not going to be with Sammy. It became clear why later. Our guide for Sandwich Harbour is Hans. Hans is German, born and raised in Namibia and never even been to Europe. Speaks English, Deutsch, Afrikaans and probably more. I was also very excited to learn that Hans took my favorite vlogger Anton Ptushkin from Kiev on this same ride. He also made a great Namibia video, among many others. Link is in description. Anyway, immediately it became clear why Sammy didn't do this drive with us. It takes some serious skill and experience driving on these sands. We even had snacks and champagne. Mind you, this was probably like 8 AM, but it was nice and light. This marriage of a giant desert sand dunes with an ocean is really incredible, isn't it? On our way back to the town, we stopped to check out the flamingos. They are a bit shy, and this is when we realize we need some zooming equipment. Well, next time we have to be more prepared. We are driving north to our next lodging called Mavig Mountain Camp. We drove a bit along the Skeleton Coast, stopping to check out the stranded ship. Waters here are very rough and unpredictable, so time to time ships get stuck and then abandoned. Our destination is Mavig Mountain Camp. The camp is quite fancy. We love the whole glamping setup. The scenery is stunning. We also noticed that it is much warmer here, especially at night. That is because these boulders absorb heat during the day and then slowly release the heat at night. Crazy. Unfortunately, the pools were too cold in all the resorts. There isn't enough heat during African winter to heat up the water. One activity in this area is to go visit desert elephants of Damaraland. These species of elephants are only found here and in Mali. They have uniquely adapted to the harsh and dry environments by needing less water than their normal African cousins. Another activity we had was to visit Twijfelfontein area where you can admire carvings by ancient people, some as old as 6,000 years. On the way to the famous Etosha National Park, we are visiting the Himbas. There is no fee for this or anything, but somehow Sammy did inform them, so we were expected. And of course, we are not coming empty-handed. Really a one-of-a-kind experience for us. We learned so much about them through one man who is a native to the village, but he does speak English and is just one of those Himbas who was chosen by his parents to go to school and be an agent of Himbas in the mainstream Namibian society. This is the chief. Unfortunately, all the other guys are out herding the flock. These ladies use red ochre powder mixed with butter to cover their skin to protect it from sun and dry air. Once a woman reaches her menstrual cycle, she's not allowed to wash herself with water. Instead, they use smoke of special tree called commiphora for hygiene. How this works is beyond me, but it obviously does somehow. The fabulous hairdos are extensions made of synthetic thread or goat hair and covered with the clay mixture. There are so many nuances and symbology with these people, we don't have enough time to list them all. They are really beautiful and seem quite happy. Certainly don't need to worry about taxes, career goals, stock market or inflation. The next 3 days we spent driving around Etosha National Park and seeing all these wonderful animals in the wild. So amazing. This park is enormous, almost the size of Belgium. We even had to stay in 2 different lodgings. You are not allowed to get out of the car, only at few designated places. And also, we were so glad that we were in a normal car, all isolated from the dust, the wind and cold, unlike all those poor people in those open-air vehicles. It looks cool, but no thanks. Goofing around a bit at the river Pent, which looks like a giant blue lake on Google Maps, but again, water only comes in the summer rain season. Our tour operator saved the best for last. Okonjima Bush Suite is an amazing property, with private butler and chef, settled in the wilderness with wild animals roaming around, a place not to forget. It is completely private. There are actually 2 suites in case you have a larger party, but you don't get to share the common space with strangers. They even managed to squeeze in 2 activities. One, go see leopard, and then in the morning, go to see cheetahs. These animals are wild, but they live in a controlled environment with radio collars on their necks. The leopard was a lazy one, especially in comparison to a super active cheetah. Beside all the natural beauty, it's the people of Namibia who made this trip such a great experience for us. They are very welcoming and warm, and usually with a great sense of humor. Our trip is coming to an end, unfortunately. This was so exciting and interesting. Not really relaxing, but totally worth it. We do definitely want to come to Africa again. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and also that it has inspired you to visit Namibia. Please let us know in the comment section what you think. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Goodbye!